Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the American Express. This is my DFS preview and favorite bets show. And first and foremost, thank you for stopping by. Real quick, just so you know what we got planned for today's show. Of course, we're going to do a recap of the Sony. We're going to dive into all the models and the analysis and the course and everything you need to start thinking about who you want to play in your DFS lineups. And of course, get those bets in now before odds start to get skewed. So with that said, let's do this. All right, real quick, as you guys know, been touting PrizePicks, still touting it. And if you've not signed up, I highly recommend it. What is this, you say? It is purely taking all the prop bets and putting it in a little bit of different format. And you have the ability to pick from 2 to like 5 players, over, under, in any sport you want. Of course, my focus here is giving you guys the best plays from the PGA side. And as of always, if you sign up now and use the promo code Golf Guru, they are matching up to 100%, up to $100. And of course, for last week, I went with fair greens in regulation. The Wailea greens were the 4th easiest to hit on the PGA Tour. And I felt like their numbers were, fairly giving, and we were good to go. Of course, I had Answer. He hit 15 greens. We had Ryan Palmer hit 14. Kokrak did do the under, which that's what I was predicting, and he hit 12. Problem was Harris English only hit 10 greens. So if you would have played what they call the flex play, you would at least 1.5, whatever money you bet. Of course, I always go with the power play. I'm trying to hit 4 out of 4 to 10x. So I missed, but hopefully, and I think I mentioned in the previous show, I recommend you guys do the flex play, but it's all up to you. Of course, if you do hit the 4 doing flex play, you still have 5 extra money. Okay. Let's talk about the Sony Open. This was a hard one for me. If you guys have been with me for a while, if you're new, I've been on Russ Henley for a couple of years now, waiting for that win. Of course, he's had wins in the past. He won, of course, the Sony back in 2013, one of his early first events with his PGA card. And of course, I had picked him for my one and done. I had an outright bet on him, and of course, had him in lineups, used him in showdown. So the guy still played great. Let's first just kind of talk about the whole summation of it. So first off, Hideki Matsuyama, of course, was your winner. Went to a playoff, which I knew once it went to the playoff to the 18th hole, they had to go back to that. I knew it was pretty much game over. And if anybody would have told me that Hideki Matsuyama was going to lead the field in stroke gain putting, I just told you right off the bat, Hideki's going to win. Because I was more focused, not so much on the best ball strikers and, not the greatest putters. I was more focused on the best iron players and the best putters. Of course, that's what took me to Henley and some other guys that I picked. And you could see after the turn on the 4th round, Henley going into teeing off at 10 had a 5-stroke lead. And to be honest, I thought the fat lady was warming up her pipes. I thought it was over. Now, I also know a lot can happen in golf. There were still 9 holes of golf to play. But a 5-stroke advantage, the way that Henley was playing that first 9, I didn't see a way possible. I also thought if he shot a 65, there's no way he could lose. But who would have thought Matsuyama was going to go out and shoot 63. And then a lower right here, of course, you've got Mr. Russ Henley. He had a 10-footer to win it. So even with everything that went on, he still had his own destiny in his hands, and it just lipped out. So again, it's a hard one for me to get over. I think I woke up this morning still grimaced about it, so I can't even fathom what Russ Henley's feeling. But anyways, that's that. Some other things I want to just talk about real quick. I always want to do this for you guys, so it's no good to do a recap if you don't really understand stroke gain analysis against the field. And so, as I mentioned, Hideki, approach around the green and, was, nothing was that great. I mean, it was all good, but this was what was mind-blowing. I think he also, I don't know if he led the field, but it was pretty high up there in the Zozo. And, of course, the Masters. I mean, to win the Masters, you got to do it all well. Never saw that again with Hideki. Hideki is just an anomaly. He's like when Corey Connors pops, or I don't know. You can think of Emiliano Grillo. Just when I think of where she's not playing well now, but when I think of awesome ball strikers that are very iffy with the putter. But the short of it is, I think Hideki, at least for this time being, has learned how to putt, kind of like the Happy Gilmore thing, because he's showing up over and over where he is starting to, have decent putting rounds. You had Russ Henley, who did what I wanted, led the field by, pretty pretty decent. I didn't lead the field, but was right up there. I guess Lucas Glover led the field on approach, but he was what, second in approach, gaining, and he's been, since I think they said almost 2 years since the Honda, he's actually led the whole PGA, even over Morikawa, JT, with his irons. And I've known that, and that's why I've been on him, just waiting. And of course, I think, what was it, I believe it was the PGA. I might get him wrong with the U.S. Open, but I think it was the PGA where he had a chance to win that too, and then fell apart on Sunday. Kevin Kisner, just like what we saw at the Tournament of Champions, really started to pour it on the last 3 rounds. Gained 4 strokes with the putter, doing what Kevin Kisner. Seamus Power was one of my picks. Playing just great golf. Since he won the Barracuda, the guy's just been a steady, all-around good golfer. Michael Thompson was another one of my picks. I believe it was on my value plays. And I had one of you guys actually kind of joke, I think after the first round, Michael Thompson was up there. Who's seen that coming? Remember, I was on him, all over him for the RSM. And I told you guys, I don't know what it is, but when I'm on some guys for a tournament, it's typically, if it doesn't happen then, it does happen the following tournament. And so Michael Thompson showed up, and I'm interested in him this week. And of course, I don't know if you guys saw him, but he now looks like Blackbeard. And I saw that, I forgot what tournament he played in. Maybe it was the RSM, where I saw the beard and was like, whoa, looked nothing like him. My boy, Smell the Glove, Lucas Glover, of course, picked him for the John Deere last year. But his putter, so there's another guy. I would put him, Hideki's a little better, don't get me wrong. But Lucas Glover, from tee to green, is one of the, he's an amazing ball striker, like a Kyle Stanley, but just a terrible putter. And so, he actually barely gained a little bit. And if you watched any of the round 4 coverage, they had quite a bit of coverage of him, just missing, just burning lips and just missing putt after putt, very makeable ones. And if he would have made, just a few of those, he could have been right up there. Of course, Kuchar, you had the story, right? Jim Furyk out of nowhere. Of course, Matt Kuchar and Jim Furyk, this course was a perfect, and even Brendan Todd, perfect setup for these guys. You just need guys that hit it 275, 280 every time in the center, good with the irons, and are pretty good with the putter. And that's those 3 guys with a tee. But, we haven't seen much of Jim Furyk, right? He's been on the Champions Tour and doing amazing there. But you could see, I would have been blown away, put it that way, if he would have ended up winning that tournament. And it was just, he had a hole-in-one. He just went en fuego with his putter. But Kuchar, they were touting it on the Golf Channel. I'm sure you heard it, where I guess last year he went try to chase distance, which is ridiculous. But neither here or there. Supposedly, he's gotten away from that, and he's back to playing his game. And so when we go to these kind of courses, these short tracks that, you can't get wild with it, he'll be very much in play. And on a side note, the one thing I was a little perturbed about is that, usually all the information I get from the PGA Tour, they tell me like what the depth of the rough's going to be. And I had no understanding. So of course you're just going off, average around 2.5 inches, but that they let their rough grow up to 4 inches. And of course it being Bermuda. And, there's two thoughts on that. One is they had a ton of rain there. And so, they couldn't get the mowers on it, which I don't believe that. I think they had plenty of time to mow it. I think the side of it was they saw what they just did at the Tournament of Champions, the superintendent, and said, well, they're going to, we're not going to let them come here and shoot 35 under, let the rough grow, because there's no protection for that course really. Other than that, there's some quirky driving holes and whatnot, but the greens are pretty simplistic. They're not super fast, not a lot of undulation. There was no wind, and they knew there was going to be no wind. So that was the only one thing I wish, might have steered me a little. I would still have been on Russ Henley, but I don't think as much on like a Kisner or a Kuchar. I was still looking for guys that had a little bit of distance. But anyways, Corey Connors, another player that, I put right there with Hideki, an amazing ball striker, but the putter, but we all were thinking, this is the one place that he's played 3 times, gained, 5 strokes, 2 strokes with the putter against the field. As you see, he did gain, but it was, almost a stroke. Of course, he had a great round on the final round. I think he had a good opening round. I think it was either Friday or Saturday. Maybe it was Saturday. He didn't have a good round. Of course, I think I played him in Showdown, and he did absolutely nothing there. All right. With that said, that's enough. Overall, big picture for the weekend for me, it was still a profitable weekend. I did very well on Showdown Thursday, Friday. Was just really ultimately just hoping that Russ would win. And then, of course, the one and done would have been nice, but still got him to second place. So got to use him, and he got me a runner up. So I can't complain with that. All right, time to change our focus, get off the Sony, and let's talk about the American Express. Of course, we're heading over to Southern California, La Quinta, California, where, of course, Coachella is, and you got Joshua Tree. This is a little unique. This preview actually took me a little longer than I was thinking to get together for you guys, because there's a lot of moving parts here. When I say that, it's a three-course rotation, which we see this. It's a pro-am. So like a Pebble Beach, we see the AT&T Pro-Am. Last year, of course, they only used two courses. They did not allow, because of the COVID, they did not allow amateurs or, the celebrities. Honestly, I look at this whole event and I look at it as a little bit of a poor man's AT&T Pro-Am. It's going to be a little tough to watch, as in, typically the rounds take really long. You've got two pros, and then you got two amateurs, so that makes up the foursome for these guys. They're going to play all these courses once, so it's a 54-hole cut, and then they're going to play the stadium course on twice. But for sure, whoever makes the cut is going to play it on Sunday. The good news is these courses are all almost identical. They're all par 72s. They're all somewhere around 7,100 yards. The one that I'm going to focus on is the stadium course. That's where we got a lot of the stroke gain data. That is where, at least most of the golf is going to be held. So everything we're going to be talking about is going to be focused on that, but there's really no changes. I think from a showdown perspective, the stadium course, I think, shows more eagle opportunities on the par fives. But that's it. But that's also the data that we have. So the fairways are Tiff Green, Bermuda. The rough is also Tiff Green, Bermuda. And what I do have for the PGA is this 2-inch rough, so should be no issues there. And then on the greens, we have Tiff Dwarf, Bermuda. But long story short, it's Bermuda is all you really need to know. If we're doing, if you're trying to do some analysis on who does well in Bermuda. Player field right now is 156 players. Of course, there is some alternates that are, standing by if anybody drops out, which I'm sure we will see some dropouts. Got a decent field. Right now I think this is going off the top of my head. You got Ron, M, Answer, Patrick Cantlay, of course, who was on my opening screen. So you got some of the decent, but it's, the fields since the Tournament of Champions is going to kind of dwindle down a little bit, as in, the top world rankings. Your historical cut line, we've seen it go as low as at one time 9 under, but on average, it's gonna, it's been around 6 under. So you're gonna need to go low. It's gonna be a bit of a putting contest. If you want to look at some of the past winners, I'm gonna go way more into this, but just some winning scores just right off the top of the head. You had Siwoo Kim shot at 23 last year. You had Andrew Landry shoot at 26. Adam Long, of course, I had he was, I think, one of my picks, and also had that bet on him. That did not work out. He struggled his opening day, but he shot at 26. And of course, John Rahm won it previously at 22 under. The green size here are a little smaller than average, as I always mention. Typical PGA green size is 5,500 square feet. So you got a little smaller greens. You got a ton of sand, over 90 plus sand bunkers. A lot of this sand is running all the way down the fairway. I'll give you some images so you can understand what the course looks like. You've got a bit of water. You got 7 holes that water does come into play on the stadium course. And I don't have a Stimpmeter reading, but Bermuda, everything I've seen, I would guess somewhere from what I've seen in the past, it's average around 11 running on a Stimpmeter. Course defense, as already mentioned, ton of water, ton of sand. You got these like cavernous grass bunkers too. The small greens. There is some trees, spread here and there. I mean, you could get behind a tree if you get wayward, but nothing too crazy. If I look at my past notes, this is a tournament and a course that, I don't like as much from doing the analysis, because I don't see a perfect fit. There's certain courses like we just left at Wailea. There's, this is the type of player that we need. RBC Heritage, then you could go to the Bombers at certain courses. So this one, I've seen it both, but typically the guys that do well here are still the guys that could drive the ball accurate. Distance is great, but really I would take accuracy over distance. Good with the scoring irons. When I say that, sand wedges, pitching wedges. So think of like, Justin Thomas, who's just ridiculous from like 100 yards in. Um, and then, of course, they're going to have to find a hot putter. And so, as always, trying to figure that out is pretty much impossible. What does show up here is that guys who done well here in the past or do well on the comp courses I'll talk about in a little bit typically do well. So the horses for courses definitely shows up. Comp courses are relevant. And then just to give you a quick little snapshot of last year, just Brandon Hagee, funny enough, which is not a fit for the, that's what I said. There's really not a perfect fit, but Brandon Hagee bombs the ball off the tee. Um, you know, with the irons, not that great of a putter. Was your round one leader, shot a 64. Now, Sun JM, I look at him as more of a fit, but really, Sun JM, you could put him on any course. He could be a fit, but he shot a 65 round two. There was a few of them, a few 65s, but I just pulled his name. Russell Knox shot the lowest round three at 64, which is interesting. Russell Knox, right, had a good showing here just recently at the Sony. I think he could be live. Then you have Patrick Cantlay, who, went in Fuego and shot a 61 the final day. Was actually in the clubhouse with the lead before Siwoo Kim made a couple birdies at the end and it ultimately won the tournament. Okay. Oh, and of course, didn't mention this. It is a Pete Dye course. We're going to look at other Pete Dye courses, and then of course Jack Nicklaus designed some of the other. This is the resort course. There's actually 4 courses here. Some of you might have played it. There's the mountain course. There's of course La Quinta, I should say. And it's been hosted here since 1983. So it's been here a while. Okay, I think that's everything from a course breakdown. Let's keep moving forward. Okay, so as always, I'm going to give you guys just a real quick kind of overview of the track. Of course, as we always tell you, go watch YouTube, type in round one highlights for the American Express 2021. I say that all the time. What's funny, and you get to see, they show just a lot of putts, and they show a few good like iron shots, but you really don't get a real good feeling for the course, what I've come to just kind of notice. So this will give you a little better understanding. But in short, you can see, as I mentioned, sand runs on a lot of these fairways. They're elevated. So if you think of like Kiowa or watch the PGA, they kind of got those elevated fairways. And if you drop down, you're in, in these long sand bunkers. Like I mentioned, tons of water runs around a lot of these greens. They got, an island green on 17. So again, kind of stole that, the Pete Dye course design, TPC Sawgrass. So number 17 there too at the Players is an island course. But yeah, I mean, I was kind of leaning towards, really short, accurate drivers. But, again, it kind of shows up where Tony Finau's and the Rahms, guys with distance have taken advantage of this course. So as long as you keep it in play, you'll be all right. Then just to give you a better understanding of what I was just discussing, here's kind of the elevated fairways. Here's the random trees I was mentioning. It's not like tree line, but, if you get off track, you could find yourself behind a tree, but nothing really to worry about. You got, quite a bit of slope going on. So, you're going to learn how to use these banks. So driving it up in this hill, watch it release down to the fairway, avoid the sand. So guys that have played this course before, at least a little bit, will probably have a little bit of advantage. And then here's number 17. I think they believe they call it Alcatraz, but the island course, or the island par 3, just like, of course, 17 at the Players. Okay, let's look at, this is focusing on the stadium course, but I do have all 3 scorecards just to quickly show you. I went through it. I think there was only one hole that was off by a few yards. The rest were dead nuts. I mentioned, the eagle opportunities, right? You got 4 par 5s. So it looks like number 8 and number 16 is the best eagle opportunities. Of course, there's some that popped up also on a number 11. And then there's a short par 4. Trying to see where that's at. I think it's this one here, number 7. That's also an eagle opportunity. If you compare front and back, just from a quick glance, it looks like the front's a little easier if you start out there than the back. And as I mentioned, from a showdown perspective, but, I don't have all the data on the other courses to be able to say which are harder. But in memory, I think the stadium is fine. If you're trying to pick your team for showdown, you might want to lean towards stadium. But I don't think there's a huge disadvantage or advantage either way. So again, as I mentioned, I already kind of went through this scorecard. This is the official scorecards. Funny enough, they actually sent ones with some of the guys' names on it, which I've never seen that before. But here's the Pete Dye. Everything's good here. You've got the Nicklaus Tournament course. And like I said, if you look again, pretty close, same yardage, par 72. You know, I didn't go through each hole by hole, but everything looks like they kept it pretty similar. And then the La Quinta, same thing, little less. I mean, it's the shortest course out of the three, so you can look at that. But yeah, I'm going to do a little more watching past with AMEX. It's just to confirm because there is some advantages when you get to these multi-rotational courses. I know at the AT&T Pro-Am, there's definitely a little bit of advantages. So how do you win the American Express? I sat here and agonized over this quite a bit. But where I'm ending up is I'm still going to go with approach is my number one. Stroke gain that I'll be weighting the heaviest. Again, ball strikers show up. I mean, Siwoo Kim is another perfect example of a really good ball striker. His short game around the green has gotten really way better than I remember. It's just, does the putter work or not? And you know, if the putter goes for him, just like the Corey Connors or even a Kyle Stanley or a Lucas Glover or even one time a Decky, but now, like I said, a Decky seems to be becoming a pretty good putter. They're gonna win. When you got these elite ball strikers and they put the putting together, typically they're gonna be either win or be top five. At one time, I had good drives because I really think RBC Heritage has some similarities to this course. Another Pete Dye course. That one you have to, if you get off wayward, you're in trees and you got to just sometimes pitch it right back in the fairway. So, but it's not that. You can bomb it and get it, off the beaten path and still be okay. So, actually, with driving distance, with fairways and reg, it's also the same as OTT, off the tee. Putting, you can see I put that. It just shows up where putting is not as huge as what we've been looking at least the last couple tournaments. Around the green, they're going to have opportunities to drive some of these close. So that does show up a little bit. The proximity is the pins that will be going into the model. 11% of the time they're coming in from 75 to 100. That's a unique compared to PGA Tour average. The prox from 150 to 175 is 25% of the time. Of course, there's the four par fives on all the different courses. So, we need guys that could score on those, get their birdies, eagles if possible. And then also I looked at just plugging into a lot of the par threes fall in at 175 to 200, 3 of them out of the 4. So I'll put those in too. And then, like I said, I always kind of next, there's a few things that I like that I do probably a little better than others, but I give you all the information. I always like this confirms looking at the past winners. What did they do well, or at least the top 5 guys plus the past winner. And if you kind of look at it, what I did see is that off the tee, there's no red. I mean, you don't have to gain 5-6 strokes, but you have to, gain some distance and be in the fairway. And then the irons, of course, are very key. Around the green, you can see it's kind of on or off. Of course, if you're sticking it next to the pin or hitting a lot of greens, you don't have to worry about gaining a lot of strokes around the green or chipping it in. The putter still shows up. You're not, the highest would be Patrick Cantlay, probably that he went nuts, like I said, on the final round. But you can see here, Tony Finau actually, lost strokes putting and still ended up 4th. You can see Scotty Scheffler only gained a stroke with the putter and ended up 3rd. So, like I said, it's not that you don't need the putter. Don't take me wrong, but I'm kind of like leaning a little more to the ball striking, and then see who could get hot with the putter. Hence, a Siwoo Kim or Andrew Landry. Where he did game with the ball putter, but also what you'll notice with this, which is kind of unique, is a lot of these guys who have won this tournament also have not come in with good recent form. And so Andrew Landry, I believe, and this is off the top of my head, I think he missed 4 or 5 cuts before coming to this tournament and then winning, like out of nowhere. I think Adam Long missed 3 or 4 cuts before he, came here and won. Siwoo was okay. If you look at Siwoo the previous year at this event, he actually withdrew. I think he had back issues. I don't know if he actually had back issues, but he wasn't playing well. So he withdrew either way. But, I think it wasn't where he had 4 or 5 missed cuts, but he wasn't lighting the world on fire. But it wasn't terrible for him coming in comparative to like I said, Long and Landry. And then just to give you, like, when you start to look at this kind of mixed bag, right, this is why guys like me who sit here and watch a ton of this, analyze this stuff, you look at this kind of list of past winners, and of course we're missing Siwoo Kim from this list, and it's all over the map. So right, Brian Gay, what does that tell me? Okay, you don't need distance, you just need accuracy, and you have to be a super really awesome putter. Patrick Reed, not that great off the tee, but great around the green, and this is 2014, and great with the putter. Jason Duffner, now flip it all the way around. That's a Siwoo Kim where has length off the tee, great with his irons, long irons, terrible putter. Hudson Swafford would fall in that category too. Good tee to green, but not a good putter. Of course, John Rahm, he does it all well. So, there's that. Adam Long, funny enough, he is not long off the tee. Typically okay, accurate wise, but he's not long. He's with the irons, but pretty good putting on Bermuda. And then Andrew Landry is just not a good player all around. But when, they're all professionals, he put it all together in one. So, they got Johnny Vegas way down here. I mean, the game that we know Johnny Vegas now is ridiculous distance off the tee with accuracy and with the irons, but not a good putter. So that tells you when I say anybody can win this thing. On a good note, you could pick some crazy long odd bets and you have a decent shot at hitting it. I mean, out of all the tournaments, this is one of those tournaments, especially with the whole Pro-Am thing and a 54-hole cut. There's a lot going on here. Okay, but with that said, we are going to still look at the typical models that I like to run through and just see what pops up. This is recent form. Of course, using what I just kind of walked through, approach, ball striking, putting you see is turned down to 5%. There's those proximities I already mentioned, the par threes. Of course, you got to make the birdies. Some eagles are going to need to be sprinkled in. You're going to take advantage of par fives. We're going to need some distance and accuracy off the tee, and then around the green at 5%. You plug that all in. Of course, some of these guys we've seen all fall. We've seen them at the Tournament of Champions, but some guys we haven't seen in a while, like a Matthew Wolff. We haven't seen him play at an event in quite a while. I'm trying to think of Will Z. As far as I remember, I haven't seen him since I don't even know. He didn't make the FedEx Cup if I remember correctly. I'm just trying to see anybody else that pops up here. Of course, Rahm was at Tournament of Champions. But like Cantlay and Rahm, I was thinking, hey, these guys are going to have a little bit of rust. They've not played competitive golf in 2 to 3 months, and both of them come out and almost win the thing. So there you go. Trying to think of anything else here. I mean, Gooch was disappointing at the Sony. Luke List, Luke List fits the Siwoo Kim model, but he hasn't done that well here at this course. When I think of this course, I don't think of Luke List. I would think of something like Valero or, give me something that's long that you have to be long and straight and, the putter goes, you could win. But, he pops up under this model, at least at a recent form, but it's been a while since we've seen him. Of course, Seamus Powers are playing great. Scotty Scheffler, he falls a little bit in that camp into an elite ball striker like a Tony Finau. I think he's a better putter than Tony, but he's still, boy said Scotty Scheffler, a little bit like Matsuyama. I like him better 10 feet out than I do 10 feet in. As in, I think Scotty makes more putts, and I'm more confident than when he's got that like 5-6 footer. He makes me really nervous. HV3, we haven't seen him in a while, but again, fits that really good ball striker, terrible putter. Okay, I think enough on that, but you get an idea of the recent form guys coming in. And again, it's all a little bit of mix because even though I pulled the last 12 rounds, some of these guys have not played in 2 to 3 months. Some of these guys we just saw, over the Hawaii swing. So the other thing I always want to see is the history at this specific course, which is the stadium course. Of course, you're going to see here, I wanted to pull up 12 rounds, but some of these guys, because they only play it, once or twice when they play the AMEX, but some got, quite a history on here. Of course, no shocker, Siwoo Kim, past winner. I think Nate Lashley is very interesting. I think he for sure missed the cut at the Sony, but like I said, he's won at the Rocket. I always state, one of the better iron expeditions I ever saw, and has recently gained putting on Bermuda, but I don't think he had that good of a putting out at the Sony. Kevin Chappell, of course, had I think a really good opening round at the Sony and then kind of fell back. Adam Hadwin's got an elite course history here. I'll show a little more about that. See anything else pops up. The Duffner, that's funny because that kind of fits, right? Elite ball striker, not a good putter. I think that's enough on that one. Oh, and then here we go. So I wanted to add this in, and I'll start doing this. This gives you a good snapshot of, their past 5 times they played here. If they played here 5 times, who's gained the most strokes total, and then what their finishes were. And funny enough, Adam Hadwin, which I remember this now last year, he ended up T32, and I'm sorry, it was super, super chalky. And it'll probably be chalky even this time around because before that, he didn't play 2020, but he had a T2 in 2019, a T3 in a second. So that's the best course history we have within, the last 5 to 10 years. Of course, Andrew Landry, which, funny enough, typically is I don't think he's a good golfer at all, but he's had good course history here in it. Horses for courses. John Rahm, funny enough, has played here 3 times. Won it in 2018 and then played it in 2019. Didn't play it the last couple of years, but as far as I know, he is still showing to play. Brendan Steele makes sense to me. That play makes sense to me. Pretty solid. You got Abraham Answer, who burned everybody. At the Sony, of course, you had Sunjay M, which is going to be interesting. He burned everybody. Who else? Of course, Cantlay I mentioned had some good showings. Tony Finau, funny enough, a couple times he's played here. Sunjay M, pretty elite, almost top 10 every time. But again, I feel like Sunjay M, his game, he's kind of like the most well-rounded player. Is just if he has that kind of bad putting week, which is what he just had, he just could not make a putt no matter what. Just tons of pars. Hence why he didn't make the cut. Okay, and of course, as mentioned, we are at a Pete Dye course, and whenever we're on Pete Dye courses, like they're a little unique. Like if you think of RBC at Harbor Town, if you think of the players at TPC Sawgrass, right? You got to be a very strategic kind of player. You got to really think your way through things. He challenges you visually on the way, different shots to be played. So it makes sense. And so again, giving you the top 20 guys that have, done well on Pete Dye design courses. Very interesting. Corey Connors, number 1. M Answer, of course, Siwoo Kim, who's won the Players. He's won the AMEX. Griot, what kind of just keeps resonating is really good ball strikers and just need that putter to pop. Lucas Glover shows up there. Even Gooch kind of falls under that elite ball striker. Russ Henley, you could consider, I don't know. I think off the tee with Russ is not elite by any stretch, but his irons are just so good. HV3 I mentioned. Even Adam Schenk lately has been really good ball striker and has gained recently on Bermuda. So, okay. And then also, of course, we're going to be on Bermuda greens again. And so I want to give you guys who's the best top 20 Bermuda putters out of this field in their last 24 rounds putting on Bermuda greens, average speed. And no shocker right out the bat, Brian Gay, of course, who's a past winner here, also won the Bermuda. Adam Long, which I'm going to be on him again. Just as I said, I'm usually 1 week ahead of time on certain guys. Bezain Hoot, Hadley, Higgs, McCarthy. He made the cut, but that was disappointing. I saw a lot more for Denny McCarthy than what he did. Of course, Brennan Todd, Kevin Tway. That's kind of interesting. I don't think Kevin Tway is a very good putter. Tringali typically putts great for the first 3 rounds, and then he just falls apart on Sundays. Adam Hadwin, of course, I told you his elite history here. Hammer and Hank, I believe he made the cut, was one of my picks. Vincent Whaley had a really good showing at the Sony. Of course, Russ Henley, my guy. What's funny is the more analysis I kind of started to do on Russ, I've always thought of him as a very elite Bermuda putter, but over the last couple of years, his putting has actually fallen off. It's the irons on approach have went up in strokes gained, and the putter has kind of went down. And then you got Nick Taylor, which is a little interesting. Right, he won, I believe it was the AT&T Pro-Am, so it could be an interesting play here. And then we want to find out who's been the best with their irons on approach for the last 12 events, or I'm sorry, the last 12 rounds, 3 events. Funny enough, still Tom Hoagie. Luke Donald, he wasn't in my picks, but I mentioned him. He was one of my sleeper kind of talk points that I told you guys for like bare min price. He's a good play, and I think he ended up with like a top 15, somewhere around there. It was pretty impressive. Trying to see anybody else that just stands out here. Of course, I always, Russ. Ches Reavie, that's interesting. He's just, I think, been in terrible form. Maybe I'm missing something, but I have not been playing any Ches, De Les Ches. Party Marty Lairs down there, right? He's been playing. He's had some good showings. What did he win? Shriners not too long ago. Hayden Buckley has been showing up, and then Carlos Ortiz. We haven't seen him in a while, so I don't even know what that's pulling, but we haven't seen him. It would have been like early FedEx, I believe. And then, as I kind of mentioned, one of my more favorite kind of models and analysis to do is looking at comparable courses. Right now, I've got 5 identified. Probably the first 4 are my favorite: RSM, RBC, Heritage, the Players, and the Honda. Those are all, par 72s or 71. Bermuda, but all less than 7,200 yards. The RSM is kind of a similar, it's got the water that comes into play. I think there's some similar. RBC, I already mentioned Pete Dye. The Players, Pete Dye has got the water. The Honda, it's got the water. And Sanderson Farms, it's not a perfect match from like a yardage, but it is Bermuda. And for whatever reason, quite a bit of crossover from the guys who've won there or done well there and shown up also at the AMEX. So not sure if that's just the way the field works out or what, but I just started to see a lot of correlation there. So if you look at some of the guys, Abraham Ancer, which is, he, of course, missed a cut, I already mentioned, and I'm going to be interested because everything tells you to play Abraham Ancer here and bet him. Who else was in it? Sebastian Munoz. I actually got a bet on him. I think he was 100-1. This course, he won Sanderson Farms. This kind of course fits Sebastian, where he can get, pretty good ball striker and can get nuclear hot with the putter or just be a disaster with the putter. Of course, Michael Thompson again. Corey Connor shows up down there. Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau, who's done well at this track, which, again, I don't really think of this course as a perfect fit, but Tony's done well here. Okay, so with all that said, here's the early bets that I have. And now, again, I always state this. I lean right now. These are not the guys that I think are going to win. These are the guys I think they have pretty good odds that I want to bet and have a good chance of winning, could win with these kind of odds. Of course, right off the bat, I bet Russ Hundley last week at 22-1. Of course, broke my heart. And this is probably more that I'm on tilt. And if he won this weekend, which I don't think he's probably going to do it. I think, as I kind of stated, to go through what he just did and lose in a heartbreaking fashion, that he'll come out and win this tournament, I would just be shocked. But I've also seen more shocking things in golf. So I've got to bet him. So I'm betting him 35-1. That's already happened. Of course, Siwoo Kim, I'm not, the one thing I know about Siwoo Kim is don't second guess him when he's going to a Pete Dye course. No matter what form he has going in, which right now I don't think he's done anything amazing to make me think he's going to win this. But again, I've seen it before, so I've got a 65-1. I like that bet. Siwoo Kim. Of course, I had my Adam Long shot, and it was 100-1 last week. It's 100-1 again. He's a pass. Well, I think his only win on tour is the AMEX back in 2019, and gains on Bermuda, does the things that you need. So hopefully, again, maybe I was a little early on Adam, and this is his week. And then, of course, Blackbeard, Michael Thompson. I've been on this guy. I wanted him. I thought maybe the RSM was it. And then, of course, he had a great showing at the Sony. And everything, I actually pulled this up. So he's 110-1. And I wanted to pull this up for you. So, of course, he won the Honda, which is a good comp course. That's way back in 2013. The 3M Open, that's bent greens, but there's a ton of water out there, and it has a lot of similarities. So I like the 3M Open. Not even, it's kind of not a perfect comp course by any stretch, but I think it's definitely applicable. You could say the St. Jude is similar. Of course, the Amex, he had a 5th place here last year. The Sony, which we just saw, I think, what did he end up 4th? And then, of course, he had a 6th there. The RBC Heritage, I think it's a great comp course. He had an 8th there. So the course fits him is what I'm going with. And he's right now in good recent form, but you never know what's going to happen from day to day in golf. And then last but not least, here's kind of my super long shot. 150-1 CT Pan. This is the kind of guy that will win this at this course. And let's just go take a look at his. So his only win was RBC Heritage, where I believe it was Kuchar and Lowry. I always remember this guy because, DJ had the lead, I believe, going into Sunday and just fell apart. And CT Pan won the thing. And it's a Pete Dye course, very similar to how it needs to play. Of course, the Wyndham's a short track. You've got the Honda, which I like, the Charles Schwab short track, the RSM. Then there's that Sanderson Farms kind of correlation I was talking about, and RSM again. So with all that said, everything kind of points me as CT Pan. I like that 150 to 1. Again, it's a long shot, but he would be the typical kind of guy that would win the American Express. And with that said, of course, guys, as always, click that like button, share with anybody else, subscribe if you've not subscribed. I think we're 17 subscribers away, and I keep forgetting. I am going to give a giveaway. I will have it on my show tomorrow. It's going to be a giveaway to my already guys guys and gals that have been with me for a while, and then of course whoever ends up being a 1,000 subscriber, I'm gonna they're gonna win something too. So there's gonna be something given away on both sides, because I wouldn't be fair just whoever ended up being 1,000 subscribers. So that will be announced for sure tomorrow. And if you have any questions for me, I will do. As you saw, my one and done will come out on Wednesday. But anything you have questions, hit me up on YouTube comments. And then follow me on DFS Golf Guru. Anything that comes out between the PGA Tour communications, I will let you know. And then last, I'll leave you guys with this little Siwoo Kim cameo that was sent to me a couple years ago.
Hey Golf Guru, it's Siwoo Kim here, and you better be picking me to win this weekend.
So there you go, right from Siwoo Kim. We better pick him. At least put a bet on him, even if it's a small bet. And hey guys, excited about the AMEX, even though I think it's going to be a little quirky, but still, I'm still pumped. New golf season, and I'll be out tomorrow with my picks for you guys. Talk to you later.